All right, everybody, we're going to come back at 1 o'clock. I'm going to leave us with an Armin Hansen quote. For people that know, Armin Hansen was an artist out here.
He helped guide Don Popper in his menu.
And it was, this is a little different, but it's, here we are, mid highballs high, rye. Some take the queen and bourbon. Friend Percy speaks of sterling wise, but for me, old shied and dry. So he did his poem regarding alcohol. So enjoy your lunch, everybody. Come on back here at 1 o'clock and start the program. Thank you.
In the museum.
The museum will be open downstairs. If you have not checked it out, go on downstairs to the Japanese Heritage Museum.
So I know that it's been a long 2 days, and on our schedule, my good friend Jeffrey Dunn is supposed to come and talk about the Abalone League, which was a very unique baseball league. Most of the artists, they had these quick rules. One of the rules, you had to have at least one woman on the team. One of my ideas when creating this festival was to have kind of recreate the baseball, Abalone baseball, and have it played tonight across the street there, but that did not work out like we wanted to, but maybe next year we can do that. And Jeffrey's going to also talk about his work on George Sterling. Jeffrey's working on a history, a biography of George Sterling for a number of years now, and he does really good work on George Sterling. And we had one song, and it was Bohemians of Carmel. But the work Jeffrey has been a little under the weather, so he's not going to be able to be here today, and I apologize for that. But I was honored today because in the front row here in front of me, Pat, when you raise your hand, in front of me is Pat Sand. Pat is the granddaughter of Popper and Stolzer, the Abalone King. Pat's daughter, Wendy, who was the great-granddaughter of Popper and Stolzer. Wendy's son was the great-great-grandson of Popper and Stolzer, the Abalone King. And I'll tell you, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the Abalone King and his invention of the Abalone Steak, his little restaurant in the spring of 1908. We made abalone dinners and took it to the world in 1915. So thank you for coming all this way and being part of this. I've had the opportunity to work with the family. Pat was so gracious to allow me to go through the family archives. She has a lot of material connected to the restaurant, including all the original guest books. You'll find all those abalone songs in there, and all kinds of different things. I had some on exhibit at the Maritime Museum, and I was involved with the museum in Takayama, Japan. In 2008, we were able to bring some of that stuff from the restaurant to Japan, and we have on exhibit there, including some of Pop's original beds and that kind of thing. And there's a restaurant today that's still in Takayama that has been serving Popper and abalone today in Japan. So you guys can have it. So what we're going to do now is, this is how we're going to do this. This is a Zoom conversation. The original idea of this was to do it live, and then I thought about it, but there's a 12-hour time difference between us and Japan, and that was kind of hard. And so, here's the Abalone King. This is a book I wrote a few years ago, we decided we were going to take it. So this is a conversation we did last week between myself and Sandy Lyden, who was here yesterday, of course, and our partners in the Takayama area of Japan. And we were really honored about this and really were surprised. One of those gentlemen we refer to as Oba-san. Oba is no question about it, Oba-san is the world-leading authority on this story of the modern Japanese-Japan story. Oba-san began researching the story in 1960. He actually was a biologist raising an abalone in Japan, and he was visited in 1965. Fish and game biologist by the name of Keith Cox. And Keith Cox spent time with Oba-san, stayed at Oba-san's house. And that's when Oba-san began to research the story of the Japanese divers coming from Japan, coming from Takayama, going to Monterey. And he's written a number of books on this story and all that kind of thing. I first went to Japan in 2006. and was taken to Obasan's laboratory in Japan, where he was raising abalone. He was retired at that point. And when we were going through his office, there was a picture on the wall of Keith Cock. I knew Keith Cock. I didn't meet him a number of times, so I was really surprised to see that. I remember Keith telling me, I went to Japan, and I didn't know that. He went to Tatiana, so that was on the circle there, he really brought it all together and do all that. So that was really a cool thing. So this video goes about 45 minutes. So it is in both English and Japanese, but it's translated back by our good friend Cowrie, and I think you'll learn there's really interesting things in there. So I think I've said enough. Thank you. There you go. So want to get
Okay,
so thank you all for being here today, visiting us all the way from Japan.
皆さんもこの場にお集まり、遠く日本からおいでいただきましてありがとうございます。
I have to say that my journey in this story started way back in 2006 when our mutual friend Sandy Lyden allowed me to tag along on a trip to Japan. Honestly, it literally changed my life. And that's why we're having this event today. So I want to say that we're in this historic building that'll be 100 years old next year. And I keep saying this, but it was abalone money that built this building. And it was abalone that brought folks from Japan, from your part of the world, to Monterey. So there's a real, I want to say, almost spiritual connection between Monterey and Tatiana area of Japan. It's just such an incredible connection. And Monterey does have a sister city in Japan, the city of Inaugural. But in my belief, Monterey's true sister city really is the city of Tatiana, Minneapolis. That's our true sister city, at least historically and every other which way that I can think of. So Sandy, would you like to have something to say?
So my connection to this story, which is what made it that I was traveling to Japan in 2006, was in the 1970s. I was working on a history of Point Lobos, and I met Seizo Kodani. And with his help and the help of his family, I began to understand the story of the abalone divers at Point Lobos. But it seemed to me at the time that we were missing a lot of the story. There seemed to be a gap in the story. And I found out that during World War II, many of the Japanese families in the Monterey area destroyed their documents for fear that it would get them into trouble with the United States government. So it happened that I was in China in the spring of 1995, spring and summer, and I had been in China doing research for a month, but I thought, while I'm here, maybe I should stop in Japan and see if I can find out anything about the Kodanis and the abalone divers. So I landed in Japan. The dollar and the yen exchange rate, the yen was very strong and the dollar was very weak. It cost 10 American dollars for a beer, and I knew that I probably couldn't stay long. But arrangements had been made through a go-between, and they had arranged for me to have a translator to help me get around because my Nihongo is not very good. And that's how I met Kaori Mizuguchi in 1995. And I still don't know, maybe we should ask Howard, how is it that you got connected? How did you end up getting connected to me?
So the story was that there was Mr. Yamaguchi, who is now the committee member of Ikeda-san's group. He was the man who had been corresponding with your side, and you got his name and his mailing address, and you had contacted him before you were coming to Japan. So he thought, oh, I need to arrange someone who can speak English, and he contacted me, and there I was.
There you were. So the primary reason that my objective was to visit the graves if we could find them, of the Kodani grandparents, of Seizo's grandparents, and you had actually, or not you, but he had actually been able to find them. So he already knew where they were before I got there. We visited. I believe Kaori drove the car that I was in. I had no car. And we visited the graves. And I would have been happy. That's all I needed. And I wanted to see the place. I wanted to see what Tateyama looked like. Because everybody that came from Japan who saw Point Lobos and Monterey said they look exactly the same. So I would have been happy with just that. But somewhere along the way, and I believe it was Kaori, said there's something in the museum that you might want to see. Mr. Fukuzawa guided me around, guided us. Kaori was there too, and we went in the museum, and there were some objects that were interesting about fishing and about Tateyama, but then he said there's something in the basement that I would like to show you. We went into the basement, and it was very nice basement with a concrete floor, and he reached over and pulled out a drawer, a flat drawer, and there was a beginning of a garment, of a garment there, and he took it out and he placed it on the floor and spread it out, and there across the back was the word Monterey in English. Kaori had never seen it. Most of the people in Tateyama had never seen it because it was in a drawer in the basement. But that moment, I almost fainted. I was astonished to see this. And that's the beginning. Everything we're doing here came from that maiwa that was in the basement of the museum. None of us knew very much about this story. We all have learned together. But the important thing that I learned, and that we all learned, was that much of the records and the evidence and the diaries and the letters were all in Tateyama. They had been destroyed in America. We are so grateful for Kaori. Kaori was the Nakoro. She was the go-between. She helped us connect. Language is so important, and she has helped us 30 years. This is 30 years this year to keep us connected, to keep us organized. Kaori is maybe the most organized human I have ever met. And we were so lucky to have Kaori in the middle of this. But I'm going to leave because the rest of the story is very much involved. We now have my wives in America, and Tim has them, and I'm hoping that we'll show them to the people that are at this Abalone Fest.
We will.
But we have been guided by the spirits. We are being helped along the way. And this has been an amazing journey, and Tim and Keita-san and Aizawa Sensei and Kaori have all continued to work harder than we have. And it's almost time now for us to hand over the job of keeping the momentum, and Tim is doing a wonderful job of doing that.
Thank you.
Arigatou gozaimashita. Thank you very much.
So I think that the name Kodani, such an important name on both sides of the Pacific, and perhaps, Amiko-san, you can tell us a little bit about the Kodani family on your side?
サンデーさん、ティムさん、皆さん、こんにちは。私たちのこの研究をスタートさせた、水産学者の大場敏夫先生が今日来ていますので、ご紹介いたします。
Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, maybe. Before I start the report, I would like to introduce one very important figure, Mr. Oba, who was who led us to all the research that we are doing now. Oba sensei desu.
We all bow to the feet of Oba-san.
Oh, this is Toshio Oba. Long time no see. But I'm glad to see you, and I'm happy to have meetings with you here. Thank you.
Thank you.
もっとすぐに私のこの研究の始まりはアメリカだからカリフォルニアからキース・コックスというアワビの研究者が千葉県水産試験場に来た頃から始まりました。
My research started when a man named Mr. Keith Cox visited the fishery research center that I was working for.
いつですか？何年ですか？
昭和36年。
1961.
で、その時私は千葉県水産試験場でアワビの飼料生産、小さいアワビを作ることを研究していました。
At that time, I was working at this research center, trying to raise baby abalones.
まだ日本でも世界でもそういう試みは始まったばかりで研究段階です。
At that time, none of them had succeeded in growing abalones. So it was just the beginning of this kind of research.
カリフォルニアのフィッシュ&ゲームのキース・コックスさんが日本のアワビの飼料生産の状況を見に来たのです。
And this Keith Cox came to observe how Japanese people were doing on this growing abalone.
で、その時に、コックスさんと、私と、アワビの研究者の井野隆っていう先生と3人で、千倉千田の小谷家を訪問しました。
So when he visited us, me, Mr. Cox, and one more person went to Senda in Chikura.
その時、千田からアメリカにアワビを取りに行った人たちのアルバム、書類、写真、アメリカから持ち帰ったバカでかい大きいアワビ殻を平野さんの家で見せてもらったんです。で、コックスさんは歴史のことも調べていて、アワビの歴史のことを調べていて、日本人がモントレーでアワビを取ったと彼は言ったんです。
We visited one of the families in Senda, Chikura, and we were able to see all the photos, the letters, and the huge size abalone shells that all came from the United States. Mr. Cox had also researched on the history of abalone in your side. And he told Oba-san that there were Japanese people who did abalone diving in Monterey Bay.
コックスさんが日本のとこからアメリカにアワビを取りに行ったかは彼の研究書には書いてありません。そこでたまたま私が千倉分場ができたのでそこに転勤して地元の平磯、仙台、骨董その辺から臨地の人たちを雇ったんです。で、その雇った人の中にうちの親戚はアワビを取りにアメリカに行ったんだという話を聞かせてくれました。で、私のアワビ取りでモントレーに渡った人たちの研究がそこで始まったわけです。
At the time, his research center made a branch office in just right in Chikura, and Oba-san started working there, and they also hired local people. And some of the people said, oh, one of our relatives were actually divers in the United States, and he started doing a research.
さっき最初に訪ねた仙台の平野さんっていうのは小谷源之助の弟です。小谷家は金沢へと行って根本、南房総の根本に家があります。漢方を作る商売をしていました。その長男が源之助です。源之助の弟が中次郎で、中次郎が千倉町の千田にお婿さんに来たわけです。で、中次郎が千田の男女を連れてアメリカに渡っていきました。
One of the families that he visited at that time was Hirano family, where Nakajiro, the brother of Genosuke, married into. Oba-san just explained that his big brother was Genosuke, and he went to the Monterey, and Nakashiro, the younger brother from Senda in Chikura, sent all the Abalone divers from Japan to the United States.
研究を始めた頃はまだアメリカで アワビを取って日本に帰ってきた10人ぐらいの人たちが生きていました。達者でした。ですから、その人たちに直接アメリカでのアワビ取りの話を聞くことができました。
When I started research so many years ago, there were still about 10 people who actually had been to the States diving for abalone, so I was able to interview them directly.
研究のきっかけはそんなところです。どうもありがとうございました。
So this was my story about how I started getting into this research. Thank you very much.
そうです。ありがとう。Thank you.
And can I say that the small world that we live in, I knew Keith Cox. And I lived with Keith Cox a number of times about going to Japan.
有名なカリフォルニアのアワビ研究者です。
Obasan says yes, he is a very well-known the researcher on abalone.
日本に3回ぐらいね。
He came to Japan maybe several times.
私は、My name is 恵美子池田。大場先生のおかげで私たちは今研究を続けているそのきっかけは本当に大場先生のおかげだと感謝しています。そして、サンディさん、ティムさん、アメリカ側でも研究している方たちとこうしてつながることができて大変嬉しく思っています。
My name is Emiko Ikeda, and I greatly appreciate what Obasan started. He started everything, and also I'd like to thank Tim and Sandy and Annie and everybody in your side. We are very happy that we have been connected just like this.
そして今日は100年のお祝いをするために南房総立山でも今メンバーが集まって、ここに来ています。皆さん手振ってください。
Some of the people are here who would like to witness this 100th anniversary event.
南房総の根本に生まれた小谷源之助中次郎兄弟は明治30年にアメリカに渡りました。源之助は生涯アメリカにとどまりますが、中次郎は9年滞在の後に帰国して、南房総千倉の千田に住みました。漁業組合長や水産会の会長、小学校の学部委員などの要職を務めながら、アワビダイバーを育成してアメリカに送り込む役割を果たしていました。
Genosuke and Nakajiro Kodani brothers, they went to the United States in 1897. Genosuke stayed in the States, but after 9 years, Nakajiro came back to Japan, and he settled in the village called Senda, Chikura. He served some important posts in the community, such as the chairman of fishery cooperative, etc. And he also sent many abalone divers from his village to his brother in Monterey.
兄弟の両親は清三郎太陽と言います。江戸時代から続く海鮮問屋金沢屋を営み、アワビ漁や加工業も行っていました。清三郎の実家の森家では、機械式潜水によるアワビ漁の実験を日本で最初に成功させました。
Their parents, Seizaburo and Tayo, had a marine product business in Shirahama area. And the business was called Kanazawaya, and they were also involved in abalone diving and also processing abalone. Seizaburo came from a family called Mori family, and that family was the people there was the first people who did helmet diving in Japan for the first time.
その頃の日本政府は外貨獲得を目指していくつかの水産加工品を重要貿易品として指定しました。中でも対中国貿易において漢方干しアワビの品質向上が求められました。小谷清三郎は干しアワビの優れた技術者でした。全国の博覧会で何度も表彰され、農商務省と関わる仕事をしていました。実際に金沢屋は中国人とのアワビ取引を直接やっていて、品質を褒められたという書簡も見つかっています。
At that time, Japan wanted to gain foreign currency. They wanted to make profit from outside of Japan, and some of the marine products have been designated as important export items. And one of them was dried abalone. And Seizaburo Kodani, the father of Genosuke and Nakajiro, was a very skilled person in making dried abalone. He was awarded many times in, for example, expos all over Japan, and he was also involved in Ministry of Agriculture and Commerce. He did business directory with Chinese people, and his skill of making dried abalone had been praised by these Chinese businessmen.
小谷夫妻は8人の息子と娘たちに上級の教育を与えました。長男の源之助は東京の慶応義塾幼稚舎と商法学校に13歳から5年間学びました。英語や外国の歴史など先進的な教育を受け、教師の資格も取りました。卒業後は金沢屋の仕事に就き、アワビに関わる仕事で各地を巡っていました。最近の調査では、新潟県佐渡島にアワビ工場を開き、加工の仕事をしていたことも分かってきました。源之助の最初の妻、林は佐渡島出身でしたが、明治35年に死別しています。
Seizaburo and Tayo had 8 children, and they gave their children very high and modern education about that time. The oldest son, Genosuke, went to a school called Keiyo Gijuku Yotsha, and then after that he went to a business school from 13 years old for 5 years. He learned English and world history and many other modern education he received, and he also got a certificate as a teacher. After graduating this school, he helped the family business, and he visited many areas in Japan involving in abalone business. Recent research found that they also opened an abalone processing factory in Sado in Niigata. Actually, Genosuke's first wife, Bin, was from Sado area. She passed away in 1902.
一方、次男の中次郎は英語学校に1年通った後、水産研修所に進学しました。父、清三郎は水産研修所が南房総で行った夏の実習や研究のための海藻採集などに協力し、深いつながりを持っていました。中次郎も在学中から金沢屋を手伝っていました。水産研修所では、岸の上鎌吉というアワビ研究の第一人者から指導を受けました。
Genosuke's younger brother, Nakajiro, went to an English school for 1 year, and then he entered Fishery Institute. Their father, Seizaburo, was, he helped this Fishery Institute workshops that were held in Shirahama Minaboso area. So there had been connections. The family and the Fishery Institute had some connection even before Nakajiro went to. Nakajiro also finished school. After he finished school, he helped the family business. While he was studying at this Fishery Institute, one of his instructors was Hishinoue Hamakichi.
篠上鎌吉は農商務省に所属しており、アワビ漁の調査で何度も金沢屋を訪れていました。彼が書いた外国におけるアワビ漁業という論文には、著名な魚類学者 D.S. ジョーダン博士の北太平洋沿岸のアワビ漁業が引用されています。当時のアメリカの水産調査データは、日本の水産政策を作る上で欠かせないものでした。小谷兄弟はこれを見て渡米前に研究したと思われます。
This Kishinoue, the instructor of the Fishery Institute, he belonged to Ministry of Agriculture and Commerce, and he had visited Kanazawa, the family, the business that Genosuke and Nakajiro's family had for many times on the research of abalone diving. He wrote a research report, and in there he had quoted some research papers written by D.S. Jordan, and this was 当時のアメリカの研究だよね。
当時のアメリカの研究は日本の水産政策を日本から設定
This kind of data was very important on planning the fishery industry in Japan. And we have some assumption that maybe Genosuke brothers had seen this report before they went to the United States.
日本側に残る中次郎の伝記には次のように書かれています。ある日、カリフォルニアの海岸で魚介類の調査研究を行っている大学生たちと出会った。貝の名前や分類が分からず議論しているのを見た中次郎は即座に解説して学生たちを驚かせた。それはスタンフォード大学の初代学長となったジョーダン氏がモントレーに開いたホプキンス臨海実験所のフィールドワークだったのではないかと考えられます。
One of the records that tells Nakajiro when he was in the United States says this. He was on the beach in California, and he met some students who were doing research on fish and shellfish. And the students didn't know what kind they were, and they were discussing. Nakajiro just ran in there, and he explained everything, and the students were surprised. We assumed that this might have been the group of students joining the field work held by Hopkins Marine Station, led by Mr. Jordan.
また、農商務省の派遣で渡米していた椎原博という人物が明治41年にアメリカにおける日本アワビ漁師についてというレポートを日本政府に報告していたことが最近の調査で明らかになりました。小谷アワビ製造所の製法や漁法、販路などが公式に報告された資料として重要な発見です。
We have recently discovered a report that tells, that reports officially to the government about the abalone diving in Monterey area. And this was written by Mr. Shihara in 1908. We think this is a very important official record that tells the government what Kodami family was doing in California.
椎原が 水産研修所の卒業生で中次郎の後輩にあたります。シーハラレポートは中次郎の帰国後に書かれたものですが、同窓生の強いネットワークでつながっていた可能性があります。これらの調査研究は阿波文化遺産フォーラムの相沢代表が明治期に渡米した房総アワビ漁師たちの源流という論文を発表しています。
This person who wrote the research is he also studied at Fishery Institute where Nakajiro studied. Nakajiro was older and Shihara was younger. And the report was written after Nakajiro came back to Japan. But it is possible that they had been connected through the Fishery Institute. And この研究は相沢先生が書いてるんですね。Mr. Aizawa, the director of our Bunka Isan Forum, wrote the report titled in the beginning of Boso Abalone divers who visited the United States in Meiji era.
私は10月に和歌山県の皆さんと共に調査でモントレーを訪れる予定です。その時皆さんにお会いできるのを楽しみにしています。ご清聴ありがとうございました。
Emiko-san has a plan to visit again Monterey area this October together with people from Wakayama Prefecture. So she is looking forward to seeing you in person in October.
Thank you very much. ありがとうございました。
I look forward to seeing you.
いやー、皆さんも楽しみにしてます。ですね。
So, thank you all. Sandy, do you have any questions? I know sometimes going back and forth, the translation can be difficult, but there really was a lot of really good information in that. And as you say, Rico, along with a couple other Japanese historians, will be here in Monterey in October. On October 4th, they'll be giving a lecture here in the hall. They're working in the museum in the Wakayama Prefecture. They're doing a big exhibit about Monterey and immigration of Japanese citizens to Monterey. And so that should be a lot of fun. So this is our last event of this year's Abalone Festival. It's been a lot of work. I really appreciate you all coming here today and being part of this. And thank you so very much. And the museum is still open down.
We didn't really have a chance to properly introduce Brian Evans, our City of Monterey librarian, but he acted as our MC today. We thank him. We thank the City of Monterey for helping to sponsor this event. And we've got a lot of ideas for next year, Tim, when you do this again. But thank you for coming.